I never imagined that my dream wedding would turn into a battlefield. For months, I had planned every detail from the flower arrangements to the perfect playlist. Everything was supposed to be magical. My fiancé, Jake, was my rock, and I believed that nothing could come between us. But then, there was my mother-in-law. From the moment she learned about our engagement, her smiles never reached her eyes. She acted sweet, almost theatrical, but there was something off. A chill ran down my spine every time she offered help. A week before the wedding, things started to unravel. Invitations were mysteriously delayed, and some vendors called to tell me they had never received confirmation. At first, I brushed it off as a coincidence. I wanted to believe in the goodness of people, especially family. But deep down, I knew something was wrong. One evening, while finalizing the seating chart, I found an email from our caterer. They claimed my mother-in-law had contacted them with changes that I had never requested. My heart raced. I confronted her gently, but she laughed it off, saying, "Oh, sweetie, don't worry. I just wanted to make everything perfect." Her voice was calm, but her eyes, they were calculating. Then came the real shock. On the day of the rehearsal dinner, I discovered that someone had tampered with the dress I had chosen. A hidden stain, impossible to remove in hours, and a bouquet that had mysteriously wilted. I felt anger bubbling inside me. Someone was trying to sabotage my happiness, and I was determined to find out who. I decided to play along, pretending not to notice, even as panic tried to take over. I watched my mother-in-law closely, studying every movement, every word. She thought she was clever. She had underestimated me. Late that night, I found a note slipped under my door, written in a shaky hand, warning me to cancel the wedding or face consequences. My blood ran cold. It was her. I had no doubt. But instead of fear, I felt a spark of determination. I would not let her win. I started documenting every incident, every suspicious call, every strange interaction. I even secretly recorded conversations to have proof. I realized that the bigger the drama she tried to create, the bigger my opportunity to turn the tables. The next day, I received a call from the photographer saying she had been contacted to change the wedding theme. My mother-in-law insisted on adjustments that didn't exist in our plan. I calmly told her, "We're sticking with our original plan," and immediately thought of a way to expose her. I invited a few close friends to help me set a trap. During the final dress fitting, I arranged for a hidden camera in the boutique, pretending it was for a live stream. My mother-in-law arrived unexpectedly, with her usual fake sweetness. I could see her eyes scanning for ways to interfere. Within minutes, she
tried to convince the designer to swap my dress with another one that didn't fit. The hidden camera captured everything. I smiled inwardly. This was just the beginning. That evening, at our rehearsal dinner, she tried to spread rumors about me, whispering lies to guests. I stayed composed, letting her words float around without confronting her. But my phone silently recorded her every whisper. By the time dessert arrived, I had enough evidence to ensure that everyone saw the truth. I sent a few photos and snippets of her attempts to sabotage us to our closest family members, masking it as, "Look at these funny moments from rehearsal." Her face turned, pale as she realized she had been caught, and the room that had been tense with whispers suddenly erupted in laughter at her failed attempts. Jake held my hand tightly, his eyes wide with shock and relief. I realized then that the best revenge wasn't confrontation. It was exposure. Let her arrogance be her downfall. The night ended with me feeling a mix of relief and triumph. I had survived the emotional sabotage, and more importantly, I had turned it into a story she would never forget. My wedding day was still coming, and now nothing could ruin it. Not her, not anyone. I had learned that sometimes the sweetest revenge isn't dramatic scenes or shouting matches. It's calm, careful strategy, and letting karma take its course. The morning of the wedding arrived, and a strange mix of excitement and tension filled the air. I woke up early, determined to enjoy my day, despite the storm brewing behind the scenes. Jake was calm, completely unaware of the subtle war that had been waged in the background. I smiled at him, holding back a secret triumph. My mother-in-law, of course, was already there, pretending to help while her eyes darted around, calculating. I had prepared a small surprise for her. Every vendor had been briefed about potential sabotage attempts. Hidden cameras and discreet helpers were in place. I didn't want confrontation. I wanted exposure. The ceremony began, and everything looked perfect on the surface. Guests were laughing, flowers were in bloom, and the music flowed seamlessly. But behind the smiles, my mother-in-law attempted to pull her usual tricks. She tried to switch the seating arrangements, whispered lies to my aunt about the wedding favors, and even tried to convince the DJ to play a special surprise song that wasn't ours. Every single move was quietly captured. I stayed calm, sipping my champagne and smiling as if nothing mattered. The best part was watching her confusion grow. Minutes before I walked down the aisle, she tried one final move, a last-minute change to my dress, claiming it was a suggestion from the designer. I agreed, but under one condition. She had to follow me to the boutique immediately to fix it. Little did she know, every step was
being recorded, and the boutique staff was instructed to play along while subtly highlighting her manipulations. When she realized the cameras had caught her in full sabotage mode, her face turned pale. By the time the ceremony began, I had quietly shared the recordings with key family members and a few trusted friends. The whispers around her grew, eyes were on her, and every subtle lie she had tried to plant began unraveling in real time. I walked down the aisle, holding Jake's hand, and for the first time, I felt completely in control. The ceremony was flawless, and as we exchanged vows, my mother-in-law's attempts to ruin the day crumbled behind the perfect smiles of everyone around us. During the reception, I orchestrated one final move. I called for a small toast, pretending it was just a thank you for family support. But instead, I subtly played a montage of behind-the-scenes footage showing her failed sabotage attempts. Laughter erupted, and she sat frozen, unable to speak. Her carefully maintained FOD was gone. Guests whispered, shocked by what they were seeing. Jake squeezed my hand, whispering, "You did it." I nodded, knowing that I had turned her arrogance into public exposure. And the best part, it felt effortless. From that moment on, she no longer dared to interfere, and the rest of the wedding became a celebration of love and triumph over hidden obstacles. Karma had arrived, silent yet unstoppable. I realized then that revenge doesn't always have to be loud or aggressive. Sometimes the most satisfying revenge is patience, planning, and letting the truth reveal itself. The wedding ended perfectly, full of joy, laughter, and memories that would last a lifetime. My mother-in-law, once so confident in her manipulations, was left to watch as her schemes crumbled, and I, standing beside the love of my life, felt unstoppable, knowing that justice had been served quietly but decisively. After the wedding, life seemed to return to normal, but the ripple effects of what had happened were impossible to ignore. My mother-in-law, once so controlling and confident, was now noticeably reserved. She avoided conversations that could reveal her previous manipulations, and kept her distance during family gatherings. I noticed how she carefully watched her words, aware that everyone knew about her failed sabotage. It was strange to witness someone so accustomed to control suddenly reduced to caution. Meanwhile, my marriage with Jake felt stronger than ever. The shared experience of overcoming hidden obstacles had bonded us in a way that nothing else could. Every time I looked at him, I was reminded that love combined with patience and strategy could triumph over deceit. A few weeks later, I received a message from my mother-in-law, seemingly attempting to mend fences. She sent a carefully worded apology, claiming she had only wanted to help. I
smiled and responded politely, hiding the satisfaction I felt knowing her apology came too late. The damage was done. Everyone around her knew the truth, and her attempts at interference had only made her look foolish. I started reflecting on the entire ordeal, realizing how much I had learned. Trust is precious, and vigilance is sometimes necessary, even with family. Planning, patience, and strategy can prevent others from ruining your happiness. I also understood that revenge does not always have to be aggressive or vengeful. Sometimes it's quiet, strategic, and completely satisfying when left in the hands of karma. Over time, my mother-in-law's behavior subtly changed. She became more distant, no longer attempting to manipulate situations. I heard from a few relatives that she often expressed regret privately, a silent acknowledgement that her actions backfired. Meanwhile, Jake and I focused on building our life together, filled with love, trust, and laughter. Every small victory over her schemes became a story we shared with close friends, not out of malice, but as a reminder of how carefully navigating challenges can lead to ultimate triumph. A year later, during our first anniversary, we revisited the wedding venue. Walking through the halls, I remembered the tension, the sabotage, and the secret strategies that had protected our day. I felt a sense of closure and pride, knowing that I had faced adversity with composure and intelligence. Karma had acted in its own time, silently but effectively. My mother-in-law, although still part of our lives, had learned the hard way that control and manipulation can never outsmart patience and clever planning. I had turned what could have been heartbreak into a powerful lesson in resilience, strategy, and the subtle but unrelenting force of karma. Looking back, I realized that the true victory wasn't just surviving the sabotage. It was turning it into an opportunity to demonstrate strength, wisdom, and the power of letting truth and timing handle revenge. The wedding had been perfect, not just because of the flowers or music, and victorious over hidden obstacles, with every attempt to ruin us documented, exposed and dissolved by karma itself.